What's going on, guys? No Guides here. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to look at Tierney. Now, for those you don't know, I used Tierney as a CDM last year. I used SPC as a CDM. He was actually a very good CDM last year. I bought him on as a sub, so even though he was still playing for Celtic at that time, I bought him on as a sub in the first minute. And he played very well for me. At that time, the SPC cost about 200 coins. 100k should I say? But it was like those SPC cards, the ones with the league SPCs where you get like players cost 200 coins, etc., etc. So it's quite long and tedious to do. Now we see the new one this year. Obviously, the price is 250k. First of all, looking at the price, do I think it's worth it immediately from the price? I would say no. It's way too expensive. Especially for what it is. You can argue there is other players that maybe are good or just about as good in that position. I would say, for example, someone like Carl could get the job done, but his stats don't lie. 3-star, not the best in terms of weak foot, but as a winger, high work rate is probably what's the most immediate things that stand out about him. If you look at his base card, the main boosts are mainly in terms of agility and balance, and I think that's the key, and defensive ability. I do think he's one of the best left backs. Obviously, you put something like an Anchor on this guy. I think Anchor's the best thing to use, in my opinion. He turns into an absolute beast. But then, if you look at his price, is he really worth 250k? If he's going to compare him to someone like Kyle Walker, now obviously Kyle Walker is an expensive card. Headliner, we're going to go with the cheaper version. So we're just going to say Kyle Walker off chemistry. So let's say, for example, we play Kyle Walker on 7 chemistry, and we're just going to put, for example, Anchor on Tierney, and then we're going to put a Sentinel on Kyle Walker. Now the sprint speed is not that much of a difference. Obviously 94 to 99. Don't forget Kyle Walker's on 7 chemistry because we're playing him in the left back position. When you play a right back in a left back position, you get 7 chemistry. So stats wise, there's not too much in it. The agility balance is the main thing, but apart from that, Kyle Walker's not too far behind. Interception is not that bad. Marking is okay. It's quite a big difference. But in stats, I can tell it's not that much of a difference. Physical, again, it's only a little bit of a difference, but I'll be honest, it's completely worth buying someone like Kyle Walker. Remember, defensive players are not that important. There is 4 positions on the pitch which are not that important. You can get away with I suppose you can say, bad cards. That is, left wingers and left mids and right wingers, and left backs and left wing backs and right wing backs. Unless you're playing a 5-2-1-2, which I think this card will be very good in a 5-2-1-2. This Walker, this Tierney card. But you don't need good players, and that's one thing I've always advocated. That's why you probably see me on my main team. You probably see me on my team. I use players like Scream Bernard in right back for the sole reason. So what I do, for example, from the first minute, so just to give you a bit of an example, what I do in game, I got custom tactics. Let's just say for example 4-2-3-1. R2 get subbed off for Scream Bernard, right? And again, it doesn't really matter about who's your right back as long as that player has pace. Generally, as a rule of thumb, even Scream Bernard, you may think, hang on, this guy's got 41 stand tackling, 26 slide tackling. Isn't he really bad? No. If you think about any FIFA player, if you make a tackle, you can make a tackle with a striker. As long as you time it correctly, you are fine. So in terms of fullbacks, it's not really worth it. But where this does look really, I suppose you could say, really good is that if you play him in a centre-back. Now, I think he is possibly one of the best centre-backs in the game. If let's say you play him on 7 chemistry, I still think he's one of the best centre-backs in the game. But for 250k, it's tough. But this will last you all the way until team of the season. I don't think you'll get a Premier League player that will be better in terms of being a centre-back. So I don't think his position is really a left-back. I would say this SBC is mainly for a centre-back. I think that's where the key aspects of getting him from. But again, 250k, it's a lot of money, especially for an untradeable. I think him in a CDM will actually do a pretty good job as a sub in a CDM. It's a good short passing as well. But again, it's just his price which really puts me off. Now, one thing obviously I'm supposed to look at obviously is 3-star left-footed, so he's good on the left-hand side. One thing I wanted to talk about is if he is playing CDM, I will probably go with the engine chemistry style, just to get his dribbling up a bit more, maybe potentially get some bit of his passing up, and just get that sprint speed up just a little bit more. That's kind of what I would go in the midfield options. So if you were to sub him on, Tierney on 5 chemistry, if you were to sub him on, I'd probably put an engine on him. As I said, just to get just a small boost, but just enough, to get that balance up. Just get that passing up a tiny bit more, that long passing up as well is what the main thing is. But that's the way, and that's the place where I really see him, is really as a centre back or a CDM being subbed on. Now, in terms of his rewards, they're not really that good. You get a Prime Electrum, rare mixed, and rare Electrum players pack, Prime Electrum players pack, and rare mixed players pack. not the best. You need, it's basically an 85, 75 rated squad, 75 CHEM squad, should I say? Sorry, 84 Premier League team. With a 1 team of the week player and 80 chemistry, another team of the week player and 85 rated. So it is pretty expensive, and that's the only bad side about him. And I'll be honest, if you are gonna do him, I see him more as a centre back or a CDM. So if you have a Premier League team, because let's be honest, I mean, apart from if we just go, for example, to players, I'm just gonna quickly look at some of the players. Right, we're just gonna go to the Premier League. So let's say, for example, you've got Premier League team. Realistically, who are you going to have a centre-back? Virgil van Dijk, maybe Joe Gomez, maybe. So let's be honest. Assume you haven't done David Luiz, which I still think he's better than David Luiz. I think Otamendi is really the only option you can go for. But when you compare Otamendi and you compare Tierney, it's light and day that Tierney is way better. So, okay, of course, Otamendi is a tradable card, but when you compare that to Tierney, this is someone in an equal price range, right? I'd rather have Tierney on 7 chemistry with 95 sprint speed, but even with Otamendi on a shadow with 10 chemistry, won't catch up. And even if we scroll down here, the passing's way better. The agility and balance, which in my opinion is one of the most important things for defenders this year. Agility and balance is bad. So again, defensively, you're playing for someone else that's better. Although he's going to be untradeable, he's still going to be the better player. I was trying to say there's not really that many options. Otamendi, if we go up on the higher tier, we've got players like Virgil van Dijk, 538k. Now, Virgil van Dijk and Kieran Tierney, I see Tierney as a sweeper centre-back. I don't really think the agility and balance is that important for Van Dijk. Van Dijk's just one of those players where he's a beast. It's like it's kind of like some players just have exceptions. Some players don't really need, like Sissoko, for example. If you use Sissoko in centre midfield, CDM, he's still a bit like a brick, like moves like a truck, but he's still quite solid. And Virgil van Dijk's one of those players. Now, is it worth getting? I think Van Dijk and Tierney will be the best combination. So Van Dijk is kind of the centre back that just stays there solid, and Tierney's kind of the sweeper player. That's where I see Tierney, and that's honestly where I see Tierney, because even if you look at icons, there's no icon centre backs. Let's be honest, up in the centre back region, that's just pretty cheap. The only player I can probably think of is Hierro. I think Hierro is only, if you're watching this part of the video, you're probably staying as you could seriously considering buying him, right? Realistically speaking, there's no one really at cost value that's what was better than him. I mean, maybe Petit in left back, but again, he's too slow. But if you look at all the centre backs, no one really comes close to Tierney, and that's why I think he is expensive for a left back. But for a centre back, I think he's really good. As I said, the pairing, I would probably go with him and Van Dijk. I think him and Van Dijk will make a really good combination. So the key thing is use Van Dijk to run forward with him. And obviously, again, most notably here, it's just agility patch. So don't forget, this guy can also play as a sub as well. Don't forget, I think this guy can also come on as a sub as a centre back. But look, he's got very good passing, very good agility, very good balance, very good everything, even good jumping as well. So I think, as I said, for centre back, he's perfect. One final thing I wanted to say as well, if you are going to get him, try to just maybe use your untradeable cards. He'll last you till team of the season. But anyway, that's kind of my thoughts on Tierney. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. Take it easy, boys, and peace out.